Hello, Zeb Aurelios from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Inside the Force. Carabas. Gotta go, Hera's here.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with me, as always, Casey Cooley.
Hello everybody.
And this is our Last Jedi full review and breakdown. And it has been literally a week since the film is released. Mm-hmm. And we have done a normal time of breaking this down ourselves and kind of really thinking about this thing. Mm-hmm. And now we are here and ready to unload our feelings upon you all. And we appreciate you guys waiting it out, because I know, there's obviously everybody out there that does
it's been talked to death.
Yes, exactly.
At this point. But hey, let's do it one more thing.
It has. But you know what? It's allowed us to really, really think about it, because I think, as you'll hear us, I think we both had different thoughts coming out of both showings. Mm-hmm. Now, have you only seen it twice?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we both seen it twice at the same time, I think, right? We both saw the Thursday night and the Friday afternoon. Mm-hmm. And I was going to go Sunday afternoon, but I got ill over the weekend, so I couldn't. But I honestly don't need to see it a third time. So, but anyway, so before we're going to structure this thing a little bit differently than just sitting here flat out, giving our full review and talking about it. We're actually going to save our full thoughts and feelings at the very end of this thing, because I want to talk through some things that I might actually sway me a little bit differently.
Okay.
Because, there's, like you said, Case, there's a lot of opinions out there. And I feel like this movie, as of right now, is getting, the extremes on both sides.
And it's weird, because, I don't know, I could be totally wrong, but I feel like people dislike it for different reasons. Which, I guess that is the case for many things. But, I feel like you have a huge camp that dislikes it for this reason, a huge camp that dislikes it for another reason. I have my issues with it for a certain reason that is different from a lot of others.
But I also feel like the people that say they are disliking it fully dislike it.
Yeah.
And then everybody fully loves it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's people, and I haven't really read many people saying, you know what, it's just a decent movie.
There's still people who are torn, I guess, haven't made up their mind. Gosh, a lot of the guys at the office are like that. But it's different.
Yes, it is. It is. And to be honest, as we get ready to knock this out, I will initially just say I am torn. Mm-hmm. I am torn. I've never
torn as in if you like it or not, or if you accept it or not, or torn in what regards?
Honestly, torn truly how I feel about it.
Yeah.
There's definitely things I like about it. There's definitely things I don't like about it. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, and I may remain there. I may remain just, it's an average movie for me, and I'll live with it. But there are definitely things that what I'm trying to separate mainly is things that I wanted to see versus what I end up seeing.
And that's what a lot of it is. I've already come to terms with it, and a lot of people are coming to terms with it, where it's like, I never thought I'd be fanboy about some stuff with Star Wars. I've gotten fanboyish about certain Batman iterations, like Gotham.
Yeah.
I can't take the Gotham TV show because it's not my Batman story. Certain things about Superman as well, like Superman Returns and all that stuff. But Star Wars, I never thought I'd be like that. But then, this Last Jedi made me have those feelings and thoughts. But I've come to terms with that. It's not my ideal Star Wars story or Star Wars movie. But again, it's like, that even saying that, like saying like what a Star Wars story is, seems like that's a whole nother level of saying like what a Batman story should be or what a Superman story should be. Like a Star Wars story should definitively be this. If that's true or not, I don't know. I mean, some people I think would definitely say yes. Star Wars should be this in all regards. It should not be this, and that's what people hate the prequels.
Correct.
But again, it's all debatable though. It's a thing. Like it's so subjective. Some people think it's objectively bad, but it's so hard to say that.
Yeah, like I get it. I get it. A lot of people are basing their opinions on what they like and don't like personally, and not. But which we'll have him on the show here. But our buddy Rainey, he did a little 20-minute video out there that attacks the film and literally attacks it. He literally attacks the film based on its plot and its character development. So, when a guy like that, who is a writer and a storyteller, when he attacks stuff like that. Now, again, I feel like, which I'll point it out to him when he gets on there, but it's like, I feel like a lot of it, he's basing kind of the rules on his stories and not someone else's stories. Because, I mean, that's the one thing I always had about. I'm getting so far off topic here a little bit real quick, but the whole thing about storytelling is like, if you're telling the story, who am I to say that you're wrong about your story? You know what I mean? Like, yes, there's rules about how to tell a story.
There's guidelines. There's it's like 3-act structure and this and that, and
but
inciting incident here.
The rules within that. It's like if I want to say that. In space, there's explosions. Why can't I have explosions in space? Yeah. Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When no, that's not real.
That's my world that I've just created.
Exactly.
So that's it.
So to say that, my ship is constantly out of range of your ship, why can't I say that?
Yeah.
Even though I may have a problem with it, but if his storytelling is that's the rules that he's creating for himself, I don't know. You're getting kind of a little further deeper than you should.
Like there is a dogma of Star Wars that I feel like you do stick to in those regards, where like this is a rule of Star Wars. But like you said though, I mean, like Rian Johnson, he introduced new rules, he bent some rules, he broke some rules. He's shifting Star Wars. Some things he did. I mean, he definitely. I mean, I think definitely the way this story is told, where it's one giant space chase. It's one location. Like all Poe and all these characters are. It's much like an indie film, like an intimate, small scale movie where these characters are stuck in a small place. They don't branch out and do a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, we see Crate, we see Canterbury, we jump to those cool, Star Warsy environments, but it's all really intimate. Like you have Luke and Rey on a very intimate location setting on an island. Then you have very intimate moments with Kylo and Rey, and they're physically confined. And then you have Poe physically confined with Holdo on the bridge, and you have all these characters who are physically put together. It doesn't seem as grand of scale in that sense, where like the prequels, it's all grand scale. You have these flourishing, vista shots of the cities and all this and that, and it, very much, I guess, New Hope was very intimate in that regard too. But still, that's one thing that's strange to me was like there was such a minimal locations where it was mainly these two ships in space the whole time, like much like Mad Max almost, where it was like one long chase. But it doesn't hurt my opinion. It's just different. And just thinking back, like wow, that was kind of different. But no, I mean, it's still in some ways it still feels very much Star Wars though to me. But no, he changed some things. I think he started some new stuff and.
But see, what I'm saying is that you're saying that he started these new things. Was to me, it's almost that he just stayed within the rules. Because I'm not sure he established those things. I'm sure that they were already,
Well, yeah, some definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, some definitely. Because some people have a lot of problems with that. An argument is that
he's not Lucas,
right?
He's not creating this world himself,
right?
So he has to follow the story group. He has to follow what's been established by Lucas.
Yeah.
So he may, yes, add his little things based on what he's allowed to do.
Yeah.
But
one thing is that which I think is needed to happen and bound to happen eventually. I think everybody was just thrown off that it happened this soon, was the fact that he's shifting it away from Skywalkers. He's shifting it away from our conventional heroes and villains, like, the whole thing with Rey. It's like now we're introducing main characters that have no ties to these families and that they are powerful in their own right. Which we've had powerful Jedis. There's tons of powerful Jedis.
Absolutely.
Out there,
well, you can argue Obi-Wan is not
exactly.
a Skywalker.
No, right. And like Mace Windu, all these people, like all these quote unquote nobodies. You're calling them a nobody because they're not part of us. They're not Skywalkers.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. There's other characters.
So that part's not new. It's just, I think it's more so like now our protagonist, our hero, quote unquote, is a nobody. I think maybe that shook some people up. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody out there, but I'm kind of guessing that that's one thing that Rian Johnson has started something where he's shifting more or less, and people are uncomfortable with. Maybe, I don't know, but that's trying to make sense of it all.
Okay, so let's we'll get more deeper into that thoughts of the movies, but if you go back to our first podcast based on this kind of telling, it was our expectations, which we kind of laid out what we expected to see in the movie. Now, I don't know, Case, do you remember if anything you expected to happen happened?
I think...
Or expected... I mean, the feelings you had going in expectation-wise.
No, oh gosh, I think the way I walked out is not how I expected to walk out at all. And I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. I think that's what messed with me more. And I feel like that's what messed with a lot of people more, is that people wanted to like it so much and they did it. And myself, more or less, I'm upset that I did not like it. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying, like, I wish I liked it more. Mm-hmm. I'm mad at myself for not liking it more. I'm not mad at the movie, I'm mad at myself. So while going into it, as I said in the previous episodes, I feel like this movie, from what I've heard, from what I've read of the different actors talking about it, is that this movie is going to change the status quo in some way. It's going to introduce new mythology of the Jedi or of the Force or something that I don't know how that would even be possible, but somehow I feel like it would change the paradigm of where the Jedi are headed or where the Force is headed or whatever. But I think I was wrong in that manner. But no, I think, but my expectations, we're not talking necessarily about predictions, but I think it, I don't know. Yeah, it didn't, I hate to say that it didn't meet my expectations, but it didn't in regards of how much I thought I would like it. I don't know. I think that's kind of a general way of saying it, but it was, I still thought it was good. It had some awesome moments. I expected those awesome moments. I expected some really cool, new things I haven't seen yet. And I got that. So yeah, it's hopefully there's a point in there somewhere, but basically it did not meet my expectations overall. I guess I can leave it at that, but not to say that it was bad.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting, I was expecting to see something that I had not seen before. Mm-hmm. I definitely got that in what happened with Leia. Mm-hmm. When she was in space.
Mm-hmm. Super Leia.
That was, that was something I did, and I liked it. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a good choice to do. I did not expect to see that the majority of the movie would be, like you said, a space chase. Mm-hmm. Was not really happy with that walking out the first time.
Yeah.
A little bit better with it the second time. I was expecting to see a Force Ghost, but I'm not happy how that turned out, really. So overall, like you, I had high expectations on different things, and I walked out not fully satisfied. And I was so mixed. So unsure of things the first night. So, but second day was better. And the more I've thought about it, there's things that have I've come to terms with. And,
Yeah.
But it's just expectations wise. I think I had an overall expectation that this would be the best Star Wars movie, and I clearly do not think it's the best Star Wars movie.
Right.
So
I don't know. I've read some people tweet saying that's to them it's the best since like Revenge of the Sith or something like that. It's I've seen some people rank it in their top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5 movies. Not my favorite by any means, but I bet it's maybe I don't know where I would rank it, but no, it's not the worst. It's not the best. So yeah, it's
I saw I took a snapshot of a tweet that I saw.
Yeah.
He's talking about rankings real fast. Somebody out here, I won't even say who it is, just, but their tweet simply says new list, and I cannot believe this, but he has number 1 Revenge of the Sith,
yeah,
number 2 Return of the Jedi, number 3 Empire, number 4 A New Hope, 5 Attack of the Clones,
Yeah.
6 Force Awakens, 7 Phantom Menace, 8 Rogue One, 9 Last Jedi.
I don't know how you come up with that list. Which that's another point though. Actually, I'm glad is that favorites. The Empire Strikes Back. For a lot of people, like for me right now, I think my favorite right now is probably Force Awakens. It's just you pull from different aspects of different Star Wars movies. Whereas I love the Star Wars movies that have more adventure. Like they're all adventurous, but some that have more adventure than others. Some more lighthearted than others. Some are more fun than others. So like Force Awakens for me is more fun, more adventurous, more lighthearted, and just a blast to watch every single time. And I think Empire Strikes Back is perhaps a better shot movie, better written movie, that kind of stuff. Different aspects of it. But for me, for my enjoyability, like that's me. So it's this guy's list. It's crazy. So his criteria allows him to have those favorites. So
Yeah.
Strange. I mean, that's great. I think that's. I'm glad that he has Revenge of the Sith as his top. So, and I'm glad people out there are loving the Last Jedi. I want people to love it. It's just it didn't meet certain Star Wars things about my list, and it did on others.
So as we then go into what we actually predicted to happen, we spent a while the night before going through the entire what we thought it was going to lay out the movie. Now, I will point out, one of our listeners pointed out through Twitter that you had successfully fully predicted what happened with mainly what happened with Luke.
Mostly, yeah.
Not exactly, but at least not the overall story arc of
not the Force projection by any means.
But the fact that he sacrifices himself to save the resistance on Crate.
Yeah, literally stands in front of the entire army.
Right. Because the whole time I'm thinking, and I remember, and I kind of went back and listened to that part and I totally didn't acknowledge what you said. I kind of glossed over because I think I was under the impression that that could happen, but then what may happen is, that the resistance actually defeats them on Crate and they win, that battle at the end or whatever. I don't know. But you were, you said Luke would show up on Crate, which he should have done. But show up on Crate, and and as the resistance is able to escape, Luke is taken down.
I figured he would. Everything was happening so perfectly. It was like, wow, this is it. I was right. Then suddenly he's not there. I was wrong.
But the reasoning behind it and the overall aspect of it is right. But prediction wise though, I don't know. I mean, I obviously neither of us predicted a Mad Max space chase.
No, but that was the hole that I couldn't think of. It's
totally
between Dakar and Crate. What do they do?
Right,
trying to find it, trying to do what is it? So that's it. It's like they're traveling. That's the whole time is. So what are they doing? They're traveling to that planet.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I think we mentioned that Canto Bight would be a lot bigger storyline. they'd be there a lot longer than they were. I mean, and that whole thing was, kind of pointless in a sense.
Pointless to the overall story. I get it, it's for Finn and his arc, but it literally accomplished nothing. For the heroes. But which is, I mean,
well, you're introduced to those kids.
Yeah, Broom Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's something you gotta say though. For a hero's journey, whatever, for the conflict, like a hero they never have to win. Obviously, their quest, but they have to learn something in the end. They have to change somehow. So that's what happened to Finn. So therefore, to me, it's a successful story. It just had no impact, which is bothersome. It's just one of those things that's bothersome, but it's fine. It's what it is. What it is. Yeah, I feel like though our predictions, we hit the general beats. I mean, like where it was going to start starts with the First Order, starts with the Resistance.
Yes,
that battle goes to Rey, then it's back and forth, and pretty much the arc with Rey and Luke, I feel like was pretty much there. We didn't obviously predict the Kylo Rey connection.
No,
but
I don't think we mentioned anything about Snoke dying.
Well, that was always a theory of mine that I was kind of thinking of, and I said it in our episode 200 roundtable. Is that I thought it would be pretty crazy if Kylo and Rey killed Snoke.
Yeah.
So if you listen to episode 200, I say that, and I thought that all the way leading up to our predictions episode because. I try to stay away from all social media and spoilers, but the one thing that I read swayed me from my opinion because I was reading Variety or Collider, I think, or somebody was interviewing the cast and about their Snoke theories. And then I just was making connections thinking like, oh, well, if they're talking about Snoke theories still, then maybe he's still alive. Because that would still be a question at the end of our Last Jedi. It's like, oh, who is Snoke if he's still alive? So I was just thinking like, oh, maybe he doesn't die. So I changed my opinion there right at the very end. But I should have stuck with my gut because, he bit the dust.
Yeah.
But Rey obviously didn't turn. So I didn't predict that. But
well, neither did Kylo.
Yeah.
Which I don't, I think we both did. Did we? I can't remember if I predicted Luke would die or not. I didn't think
I thought he was going to.
I thought he was going to live till episode 9.
Yeah, I thought he did his little stand up against the First Order, and I was predicting like, well, he would be thought to be dead or something like that, but he somehow survives and comes back or something like that. Because I just couldn't think. I just couldn't. Again, my Star Wars, I just couldn't imagine them killing off another original character, and it's almost like a checklist. It's like, oh, we got to kill off each original character in each movie, so therefore they don't survive.
That's what it seems like.
So it's like they wouldn't do that, right? That just doesn't seem like a nice, like a classy thing to do. So that sounds like that is probably what they were going to do, and that's unfortunate. But again, Luke, Force Ghost, he can still come back. So obviously,
he could,
and he can still probably do some damage.
But I think I think we both kind of predicted more or actual training happening.
Mm-hmm. More so training.
Yeah, and that really didn't happen, to be honest. I mean, she didn't get hardly any training.
Apparently there's a deleted scene too where there's like another trial with Rey. So there's like more that we'll hopefully get on the Blu-ray.
But it almost seems like she's training herself. It's like,
and that's kind of based off the trailers. I thought that would have been a small part. I thought she would ask Luke, he would say no. Then she kind of starts to do her own thing, which she did, and then Luke was like, talking to her a little bit, helping her meditate, and then got scared off. But I thought, there was just less of that. Like there really wasn't much at all training. No. Luke was like, I'll show you a couple things in the morning. Showed her like one thing. That was it.
But he also said, "I'll show you why I'm not going to do it." Then,
yeah,
he's like, "I'll train you, but I'm only going to train you in the fact that I'll tell you after that this is what I'm not going to do, and what you're not." It's like,
only give you that one lesson in the meditation. It's like where he said, like, and this is why I can't again have to watch it again, but there's that one lesson. That was it.
Well, that's when in the trailer he's like, this I've only seen this raw power once before. And in the movie, he says in Ben Solo, so you know who he's talking about. And then it didn't scare me then; it scares me now. So he obviously senses major power in her, and we'll come to that too. So, but I think again, we had a lot of. We had a lot of our own predictions about it, but it was based on just completely out of the dark guesses because we just didn't have a lot of material to go with. We didn't dive in a lot of the spoilery stuff that was out there, that you could have maybe shaped a little bit more out of. But but I feel like I wasn't completely off social. I was trying to avoid it, but I feel like there was a lot of there was still a lot of secrets that were being held back. Before you went and saw this thing. So the fact, stuff like Luke dying and stuff like, Snoke dying and stuff like Leia using the Force. I mean, that stuff wasn't out there. And even that space chase wasn't out there. But, okay. So let's start breaking down some parts of this thing that really affect maybe what people thought about it. So if we kind of analyze just the plot itself, and let's focus mainly on where we're at in this movie with the Resistance versus the First Order, because every Star Wars movie, there's a conflict, right? There's a conflict between Separatist and Republic, Empire and Rebels. Now it's First Order and Resistance. In this, it's obviously the continuation directly after The Force Awakens, and like you said, the Rebels are not Rebels. The Resistance is leaving Dakar. They know they were there because they were going to destroy that planet. Starkiller Base was getting ready to shoot fire upon it. So now they've unleashed their, the Dreadnought and Star Destroyers. And, it's funny because I did think about it too the second time. Was like, so the Resistance is, basically gathering in short space, right? When they leave the base, they're kind of collecting in space as the Star Destroyers pop up, right? And they're getting ready to fire. This Dreadnought's getting ready to fire upon the lead cruiser that Leia's on, and so Poe decides to attack the Dreadnought. Anyway, kind of curious. Because I'm assuming I think there were like 3 or 4 or 5 Star Destroyers around that Dreadnought, but I feel like they didn't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, they were just overconfident that the Dreadnought would just fire and that would be over. But they didn't attack.
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't do that either when Snoke's ship was around.
And I will say that cruiser, that Resistance cruiser, was one strong cruiser. That shield took up
everything.
A lot.
I know,
from
right?
from the
just bombardment.
Snoke's ship or whatever. It was just So I honestly don't know if those Star Destroyers could have penetrated those shields because it obviously
Probably
withstood a lot. But I agree. But Star Destroyers do just have a habit, I think, of just sitting around in the movies in general. It seems
but a fighter was funny though. A fighter can get in there and destroy the bridge.
Yeah, so the fighters, I guess get
through the shield.
Yeah, you can fly through the shield
and then destroy the bridge.
I think that's normally like shields,
sure,
block blasters, but not.
But that's just that's just funny to think that I can't use this Dreadnought to destroy your ship, but I can send a fighter in to destroy your bridge.
And that's the thing to say about the shields with Star Wars and ships is that I always assume that the shields on a ship were like skin tight almost. You think like they're always on the surface level of the ship.
Yes, this one you saw really raised
around. Yeah, it was around it. It was like you normally would think of a shield in ships. Normal sci-fi movies. It's like a bubble around the ship. But
you're right though. I think normally it's always been just like a little bit above.
It seems
the
like
surface
over.
Like not like a bubble.
Any dogfight, it's when I think even in Rebels, I don't know, and Clone Wars.
Well, you clearly see it, at least I remember for the first time, was in episode 1. When Anakin is
the
inside.
Naboo.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Right when he shields up, you see it kind of hover over the ship, and then the blaster starts skipping off of it.
I mean, that's one thing that people said, like, it's different. Like he's introduced.
And shields can only handle so much power.
Yeah,
right? So
people, they always put like deflector shields in the back. It's like all power in the rear shields.
Real shields,
and they always do that. But no, it's different. Actually, seeing the mechanics of it and seeing how that's why it kind of confused me that. Because, yes, if it is a bubble, then a ship can fly through the shield and fire. But to me, it always seemed like the shield was kind of skimmed right over top so that a fighter could not penetrate. A fighter should not be able to penetrate a ship like that. Like Home 1. Like Home 1, back in the, no one, they couldn't fire up on Home 1. A TIE fighter couldn't do damage to Home 1. So I'm surprised that they did that they kind of made it a bubble again. So I don't know if different technology, weird mechanics of this ship. This one
weird
ship has
exactly.
strange shield technology.
So, so you get this dreadnought. So anyway, the First Order. I don't want to go through the whole thing and tear it apart or praise it, or whatever. But I just want to kind of go overall. The overall plot of this movie, which is the Resistance, after suffering heavy losses in destroying that dreadnought with, they finally did drop the bombs, get basically all their bombers are wiped out. They jump, light speed out of there, and seemingly come to a place which, I think a lot of people questioned, like, well, why would they jump randomly into this? To me, I always thought, well, but that would probably is just the rendezvous point. They said they were going to rendezvous. There's always a rendezvous point.
Or, I don't know, maybe they didn't have time to punch the right calculations in.
Here's the thing. Answer me this, because I feel like a lot of people are saying this, and I don't know if they're right. They were never intended to go to Crate. It just happened to be there.
Yeah.
Do you get that? I get the sense watching both times that Crate was never the destination. It just ultimately ended up being the destination.
Probably, I think so.
Because people are like, well, why didn't they just when they hyperspaced out of when they stopped hyperspace? Why didn't they hyperspace closer to the planet they were going to? And I'm like, well, I don't think they were intending to go to Crate.
Yeah,
I think they were just rendezvousing at that point. But then when they realized they were tracked, they just started, flying away. And then eventually we're like, hey, guess what? There's because it's not a Resistance base. It's an old Republic base.
Yeah.
And if you read Leia, you find out this is like one of the very first Rebel bases. So this is pre-Episode 4. So you're talking, this thing's been abandoned for over 30 years. So that's not where they're going. It's where they end up having to go because they had to abandon ship.
Right.
So anyway, that's my opinion. I feel like that's how I interpreted that whole thing. Crate, it was never supposed to happen. And obviously even look at the ships that they flew on down there. It's like they're old and busted. Yeah. Anyway, so, but overall, talk about that whole plot. What's pros and cons about what happened with that plot?
I will say overall, my expectations going in was that I probably wasn't thinking like, I'm probably not going to care whatever the overall First Order versus Resistance plot is, because it's like Force Awakens, the dogfight at the end. It's like, it's just it's a dogfight between First Order and Resistance, and I know the Resistance will win. So what if there's another trench run? It's cool. It's cool looking. I'm more focused on the Rey Kylo stuff in the forest. Leading into Last Jedi, I thought I was going to feel the same way, and I did. So the stuff with the First Order and Resistance and Last Jedi, there's holes in it. But I mean, not necessarily there's holes. I think there's some weaker parts of it. I feel like everything that Rian Johnson laid out, it makes sense. It's not like it's just some things are weaker than other elements of the story. how they're always just outside of range. I mean, they're just the speed of the ships are going. It's not like you can do a quick little boost, get within range, and shoot them. And I think there is some kind of loose science behind it all. But story wise, with that, I mean, it didn't really bother me too much. It was just different. It just took a few moments of like realizing that it was different, and then like, oh, I'm fine with it. It is what it is. I mean, I have more so elements about towards the end. Why in the world did Holdo or Leia not tell Poe what the plan was going to be? Or why didn't Holdo, when Poe was first asking what the plan is, why didn't she just tell him? What was the whole thing of like to test him? Like, I'm not, like, the plan is to not tell him because to have him realize that he doesn't need to know, or I don't know. But the whole, because she didn't tell him, the whole mutiny thing happened and it just caused more damage. And it was just a lot of unnecessary conflict that could have been avoided if just tell them what the plan is in the very beginning. Like, we're gonna go to these transports and then we're going to go to Crate. Unless maybe they didn't know the plan.
I was about to say, when did they know the plan? Because again, I don't think Crate was. I don't feel like Crate was the destination. I feel like when they're trying to figure out what's going on, I feel like, oh, you know what? Someone came to her maybe and was like, hey, there's an old rebel base we may be able to flee to. Okay, well then let's try to get closer, and then we'll let everybody go. And I don't know if they even knew the plan.
So like basically, when Poe's asking Holdo for the first time, she didn't have an answer. And didn't want to say it because she doesn't want to seem weak as a leader, kind of a thing. I mean, I can get behind that.
That's how I interpret it.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I mean,
no, but overall, I didn't have too much of problems with the First Order. I mean, the plot in general, no, I hardly had any problems with the plot as a whole, any aspect of it. It's just this isn't the first Star Wars movie that has plot problems.
No.
Right. So I'm not going to sit and throw stones at this movie when other movies deserve big stones to be thrown at in terms of plot. So plot's fine. I'm more worried about the mythology of the Jedi and the characters' stories, the character arcs, and the action's the action. It's fun. There were fun dogfights in this one. I loved Kylo's silencer, and that sequence was great. The sequence at the end of on Crate with the Resistance and First Order with all those ski speeders, like that. Those are great. It's great. It's a great sequence. But story wise, sure, it's fine.
I mean, the conflict is conflict.
Yeah.
It's just, the only question I have is, and again, our buddy Rainey brought this up, the whole fuel aspect, like,
I have a.
I mean, I think that's easily explained. I mean, it's fuel is fuel. They had one more jump. Mm-hmm. I mean, fuel exists. It always has existed.
It always has existed. It's always been referenced in Star Wars.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing. Like episode 2.
Episode 1, too.
Episode 2.
Episode 1 said we're leaking fuel.
Yeah.
Our hyperspace is leaking and we don't have enough fuel to get us to Coruscant. It's like we have to go shorter, which is Tatooine.
Exactly. I hate saying this because it's not fair, but like, I wish everybody watched Rebels and Clone Wars and read the books.
Yes.
Rebels, fuel is involved in almost every Rebels episode, I feel
You're
like.
Right.
Like, they have to steal fuel. They have to do this with fuel. They have to blow up the fuel tanks.
Fuel is a big part of of surviving.
Yeah. Like, sure, like, why don't they have at this point, I don't know, like Air Force One, like a ship can refuel another ship in space.
The government's gone.
I know. And I want to watch the first scene again of the movie because I wonder, it could very well not be there, but is there some dialogue between those two Resistance characters in the very beginning when they're on the planet saying, like, we're not clear yet from, it's Carrie Fisher's daughter and the other guy in the very beginning. Like, they have a brief little dialogue about their state of the military, of their resources. Before they take off.
No, I can't
so there's a
remember.
few little pieces of exposition there that I want to watch because maybe it explains it there. I don't know, probably not, but no, the fuel thing does not bother me whatsoever.
No, but hyperspace takes a lot of fuel.
Sure,
I mean it does, and
they already had low resources to begin with.
Yes, and that partially that's where they're trying to regroup. Is where do we go from here?
Yeah,
because they don't have a backup base. So clearly. I mean, they're trying to figure out what to do next. I mean, they're alone. That's the thing. They're alone in the galaxy. There's no government. The First Order. If you might have to play Battlefront 2, but if you play Battlefront 2 in the second story part, it clearly shows you how spread out the First Order is.
You get that too reading Bloodline, is how deep First Order is in everybody's pockets.
They're all over.
Yeah.
So this truly is somehow, however, if they've sort of win this somehow, it's just
funny because the First Order is starting off doing so much better than the Rebellion did back in the Great Civil War.
Yeah.
It's like First Order is starting up, and they already have all these amazing pockets of all this, of cells, First Order cells across the galaxy with amazing resources. Like they already have gigantic dreadnoughts and huge, supremacy Star Destroyer ships. The Rebellion didn't have all that. It's like, gosh, they're starting off in such a great level. It's like, how in the world is Resistance going to
and somehow they did it like in secret.
Yeah, all the unknown regions. There's just uncharted, limitless space where they started building all this stuff.
So, and I get where some people, maybe a guy like Rainey too, would not think about that kind of stuff because he's not reading everything like we are. So, I feel like if you know a little more about the backstory, it kind of explains away some of that stuff. But anyway, I mean, within the plot though of that whole thing, the big miss to me was Finn's storyline about going to Canto Bight because. I don't know. I don't that truly, like, if you were talking about deleted scenes, like if you cut every scene of that out, I don't know if you miss it.
Then that is the problem. Like, again, I said earlier that a hero's story, they don't have to succeed, but you do have to have an impact on the film.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to, like you just said, if you cut it out, do you miss it or not? And therefore, that tells you the importance. Finn contributed nothing. He was not important whatsoever to the story. In our speculations, we thought, okay, well, Finn's going to show up on Snoke's ship. He's going to meet up with Rey there, and he's going to be Rey's way to get out, and
Correct.
He's going to help Rey escape. So therefore, he's important.
Exactly.
That didn't happen.
That did not. That would have completely made sense.
Yeah.
That whole trip to Canto Bight. You went there to go find some codebreaker. They didn't even get the right one.
Yeah.
They ended up meeting one in prison, which was Benicio del Toro. They end up getting on a ship that he steals. They go to and secretly, hide their way into getting onto the dreadnought. I mean, it's working out like we said. Like, this is great. They get on there, but their whole point is they're going on there to disable the tracker.
Yeah.
Right. Because the whole point of his mission, disable the tracker. The resistance ship then zooms into hyperspace and they cannot be tracked.
Yeah,
they're good. That's their only.
But was it actually even disabling it, or was it turning off for a little bit of a time?
She said they would know it within like 6 minutes.
Yeah,
you would have 6 minutes
to be able to find him again.
Yes, no,
it's just to turn back on, or
because remember the signal would bounce into another starter.
The lead
ship.
That's right. Okay.
So they had 6 minutes basically after they disabled it to get. And honestly, 6 minutes is not enough time for them. They would probably be stuck on there. So you're freeing your friends, right? You're letting them go. So and Poe's the only one on the ship that knows they're doing this. There's a whole throwaway scene to me of Maz Kanata. Like, I don't know why she's even on there.
Okay, and I kind of justified it to myself why Poe even knows Maz.
Yeah, how's that?
I think she already had a relationship with the Resistance, because I think there was even deleted scene where she's on Dakar. That's what I heard and read. There's some deleted scene in Force Awakens where she was on Dakar, but beside that, that's
in
probably
the
not
first
canon.
cut. Remember, she's the one that hands Leia the saber.
So besides that, because I guess I don't know if that's canon anymore. Besides that, in Force Awakens, Han was going to give BB-8 to Maz, or the plans to Maz, whatever the map. and so you need to get this to Leia. So he's telling Maz to get this to Leia. So that tells me Maz has some connection to Leia and the Resistance, and that's the only way I can justify it. So she already knows Leia, she knows the Resistance, and she probably knew Poe because of that. That's the only thing I can find.
I mean, it would not make too much. It wouldn't be out of the complete realm of possibility that everybody knows Maz.
Yeah,
because she's
that's true.
The canteen, or, in charge of that whole castle. And
I just don't know why. Just so that confusion wouldn't have come up, just changed it and have Finn be the one to suggest.
Yes,
let's talk to Maz.
Totally.
But anyways, that was a throw. It was fun. It was funny. Maz is awesome. She's cool, but totally unnecessary.
But I expected her more in this film. I did.
I get why she wasn't in it a lot, because you now have your Yoda type character through Luke, always like an anti Yoda, but you also have Yoda.
Yes.
So there's not enough room for like a third person like that, with Maz. So I think Maz will come back in 9, maybe resume that role in 9. But yeah, total throwaway. Didn't need it.
Yeah. So the whole Poe thing, or the whole Finn thing, just it was kind of literally a setup to fight Phasma. Yeah. And which Phasma again completely underwhelmed character, and I just got done with her book and just not thrilled about her character. I'm just not thrilled about her character. I mean, I know now where she comes from, why she's so powerful, and blah 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 blah. But she's so one dimensional. It's just I don't know, not really impressed. More like I keep praising Asajj Ventress. Like that's my type of character.
Yeah.
So dynamic, so deep. Phasma isn't there, and you don't get any of that in this movie.
You just get some quirky little one-liners from Finn, which always bothered me. It bothers me still, and it's a beautifully shot fight. We got the really awesome visuals with her armor and stuff.
And if it truly wasn't for Holdo, like Finn would be dead. So again.
And Rose.
Again, that whole... And Rose, Rose is a good character, but
I didn't hate her as much as I thought I would.
I didn't either, but again, if you cut her out of the movie, you don't miss anything.
Right.
You do not miss anything of the story if you cut her out of the movie.
That is the question. And Raines talks about his story questions, which works in some regards. To me, that's a big one. It's like, take it out. What's left?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because you can do that with pretty much everything else. Take Poe out, stuff matters. Rey, stuff matters.
Yes. Yeah, you're missing part of what happens in the story. What drives the story forward.
Yeah.
If you take that whole thing out of Canto Bight, I just don't see how you miss anything.
You don't get Broom Boy.
Don't get Broom Boy,
the protagonist of the next Rian Johnson trilogy.
But just think about this. think about if you never saw him until the end. You wouldn't.
Well, the context,
because the end would just be them referring to what happened with Luke.
Yeah,
and you could introduce them that way.
Be more mysterious that way.
It would have been a lot more mysterious.
Still a weird way to end the Star Wars movie, but
we'll get to that too, because I wouldn't have done that. But so anyway, okay, so that's fine. We have our problems with that. Now let's get into the main meat of it, which is Rey and Luke. So we both knew that we would not, we would get there as soon as we got there, which is the same point that we saw at the end of Force Awakens. Now, I'll start off by saying, well, let's refer to this because I didn't bring it up in that last plot thing, but Luke finally gets the saber, and what does he do? Throws it over his shoulder.
Yeah.
So let's address right there and all the other times that happened. Let's address the humor of this movie.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I've lessened myself a little bit since a week ago, but I felt like I was partially watching a Marvel movie, not a Lucasfilm movie. At some point, Guardians of the Galaxy, let's add some humor and one-liners. Because again, I think, a complete side note, I think Thor was way overboard as far as comedy goes.
Thor 3?
Yes.
I'd say I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen Ragnarok
Not yet.
I
The
think
trailer alone makes me see how that's a problem.
Well,
yeah,
Thor Ragnarok is a comedy.
because from the trailer
a
alone,
comedy.
Thor seems like he's much more comedic.
It is a comedy.
Yeah.
The movie is a comedy. What you thought of Thor and then Thor Dark World,
Yeah.
like this is nothing like those two movies. And some people loved it. I didn't.
Yeah, it gets weird when it just breaks the normal tropes of like an action drama kind of thing. It's like the end of Guardians 1 where he does the dance off. You know, and the villain alone's like, "What are you doing?" And like that's funny. You know, it works for that world. But like this, it's like Poe and Hux in the very beginning when
Yes.
the villain even kind of gets a little comedic. He's still villainous, but it's comedic in his delivery.
Well, he's not even trying to be funny though.
Exactly. But then you have like when Poe's blowing up those turrets and all that stuff, you have like a shot of Hux's face. He makes that really sad, like worried face. It's very cartoony looking.
Yes.
It's like, okay, that's weird. What are you doing? Like you don't get villains that are that, you know, they're not trying to be funny, but they are kind of funny in their physicality.
But not just that, but you got to remember that this is the second in the trilogy. Like the tone, to me, the tone in these characters have established in The Force Awakens.
That's true. So within yeah.
So why would all of a sudden he would have those type of facial expressions?
Yeah, Hux.
You know what I mean?
I was disappointed. Leaving Force Awakens, Hux was like one of the big dark horse surprises. And it's like, gosh, I really loved Hux from Force Awakens. Like his speech, I really hope they expand on his character and give him more awesome, like terrifying moments like Force Awakens. It's like, no, they made him pretty goofy. They made him a little weasel. He's being tossed around, slapped around.
Yeah. So for example, like you got Poe's characteristics.
Yeah.
When he says, "You talk first, or I talk
Yes.
first." I mean,
Yeah.
he's that type of person. So I get that he would.
That was funny.
Do that.
It worked because
He would do that. He would.
Yeah.
He would say, "I'm holding for," you know,
Yeah.
because that's him. But
Yeah.
Hux, I mean, just like he had to have a captain sit there and say, "I think he's playing with you, sir."
Yeah.
Like to me, Hux in the first one would say, you know,
shoot him.
just start firing him.
Yeah.
You know, why would you even hesitate?
Yeah.
You know, why can't he hear me? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
why would he even question it? Why don't you just say fire?
It's that one moment too where he looks down at the guy below him. He's like, "Can you hear me?"
Yeah.
He can. It's like a Ron Burgundy kind of thing.
Totally.
Like, he can't hear. Oh, okay. And it's like still talking to him.
So the first night, like that threw me off.
While I was
time.
watching, I was like, "Oh no, what's happening? What am I watching?" I was like, "This is not a good start."
I know.
It's so weird.
I totally did not.
Yeah,
That really threw me off. So, what about Luke now throwing the saber?
that part didn't bother me. I mean, it was surprising. It was shocking, and it came across as funny. But I mean, I don't know. That part didn't bother me actually. That piece of comedy. There's other aspects of it that were just funny. It's just quirky. But no, that part didn't really bother me too much.
What bothered me was, I just don't. I mean, and one of the main problems I have with the film is you talk about characters, like that is not Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker just doesn't do that.
That's what everybody says, man. That's like
Because
the biggest criticism.
Because Luke, if okay, so let's rewind and make sure we understand where we got here, how we got here. So in 30 years since Return of the Jedi, he has accepted the fact that he is the last Jedi. He has overthrown the Emperor with the help of his redeemed father.
Yeah.
He has accepted the mantle of passing on what he has learned. So he goes in search, and we know from material, books, comics, that he goes on a search of Jedi relics. He goes on a search of, materials, what to do, and somehow, which we don't know, somehow he finds, and we don't know where it was, a temple to train Jedi. Now, what is a little gray, not referring to gray Jedi, but what's a little hazy is, at what time does he do this?
Right.
Does he? Because it sounds like now in this movie, it sounds like we are told that he doesn't take students until it sounds like Ben is one of his first students.
Yeah.
Did you get that sense?
Yeah.
Because at first I always had this vision that he was already training Jedi, And then Leia was like, there's some darkness in my son. I need you to take him. Because he takes him when he's older, right? He doesn't take him when he's a child.
Seems like
or a youngling.
Like maybe like teenager, probably would you say, right? Maybe late teens?
I would say, 19, 20, because I think because apparently, again, this is where I'm trying. Apparently, all this falls apart like 7 or 8 years before The Force Awakens, right? So Kylo Ren is somewhere around 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
And I think he's only been there for maybe a year or two training. So it seems to me, if this is correct in this movie, the way Luke is all described to Rey, that it sounds like, I think he says in the dialogue that he takes Ben and a dozen students. So it took him roughly 20 years to establish the first kind of training of the
New Order.
The New Order.
Yeah.
Now, what we don't know is obviously the age of these other students. We don't know if those students end up being the Knights of Ren, or did Ben murder them all when he destroyed the temple. I don't think that was clear.
Well, he said he took a handful.
He took a handful.
Yeah.
So which made me think that those are the Knights of Ren, possibly. Because they're all force users, obviously.
Right.
So they maybe killed the rest of them. And there's no telling at that point when he says, I took him and a dozen students, at what point when Ben turned and destroyed everything, how many students were there? Because there could have been more at that point. So it could have been 2 dozen, 3 dozen, whatever. We don't know. So there's a little bit of haze through that area. So anyway, so this is where we are. We're there 7-8 years or so before Force Awakens. We're told now that Luke senses the darkness that Leia had already sensed,
right,
to send him there. Now did he mention Snoke, right? He says Snoke. He saw that Snoke already got to him, so that means Snoke has been established. Like some point after Aftermath, when we know, and I don't know if everybody else knows. We know after the Battle of Jakku, Admiral Ray Sloan takes the remaining fleet to the unknown regions and establishes the First Order. Somewhere during that time and this time, which is 20 years, Supreme Leader Snoke comes from somewhere. I have no idea where.
Yeah. And
he's a Force user, a dark side user. Now, whether or not he's not Sith, and we know that for a fact now, right? So he's not Sith, but he's dark, and he has Force powers. So Luke has now read Ben's mind that Snoke has infiltrated him, and he could see his future and sees. So he decides, I'm going to kill him. Ignites his lightsaber, but then what truly Luke does and should not have done is true. He does not. He decides that he can't do that. It's his nephew,
right?
But Ben wakes up, sees it, fights back, blah blah blah, destroys everything. So in failing, Luke Skywalker goes and exiles himself to Ahch-To, which is so he goes looking for the first Jedi temple. Finds it and stays there. Now, but what I came to realize that he's only been there, whatever, eight years or so, right?
Possibly, yeah.
If not even that, probably.
Yeah.
Which, to me, when we first saw The Force Awakens 2 years ago, I felt like coming out of that, Luke had been gone for a lot longer than that. It did
seem like it, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, because, and another thing I want to point out that real quick that Pablo fulfilled in a tweet. So a lot of people are mentioning this sums up, just in case people had questions about this. Pablo tweeted out, "This came up earlier today. from Han's dialogue in The Force Awakens, the map isn't specifically to Luke. So everybody, The Force Awakens seems like it's the whole thing is let's find this map that leads to Luke Skywalker. Well, it's not the map that leads to Luke Skywalker. You know, it's not something he left behind. It's to where Luke is believed to be. It's a map to the first Jedi Temple. Laura Santeca helped with the research. So he helped find where everybody thought Luke went, which is... Right. So Luke may not have gone there.
No, that'd be that would be a great twist. Yeah.
I mean...
Oh, it's not here.
So we have it to the first Jedi Temple. Well, he's not there.
There's a bunch of weird port things. Yeah. All right, let's get out of here.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting that The Force Awakens is just the map to the first Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
As Han says, you know, everybody thought he went to go look for the first Jedi Temple. So he did. He stayed there, fortunately for everybody, and and that's how they get there. So anyway, so he's there. So so this is a whole backstory to now where we are now. Rey finds Luke on the island, hands him the lightsaber. Now, for one, what I don't agree with is I don't agree Luke giving up. I don't believe Luke Skywalker would walk away especially knowing that he knows about Snoke. Like if he...
Like Darkseid's running rampant
in
the galaxy.
Because that's what he's... Like, that's what I was big questioning. It was like, what if he's there training Jedi? That's what he's doing. He's doing that to protect the galaxy.
Yeah. It's just...
The Guardians of Peace.
I can see where a character would do a complete 180 against what we thought them to be. It's like, but how does he get there? It's almost like the circumstances that led Luke to the point of how we see him in The Last Jedi doesn't add up. It's almost like there should have been something much worse should have happened to him for him to decide, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to save anybody anymore.
Yes.
I'm not going to save the galaxy.
Especially with his sister still alive.
Millions of deaths. Yeah.
His sister's still alive out there. It's like... She's there doing her side.
Well, everybody, like Han Solo, for him, his knowledge, Han Solo's out there, Chewie, R2, 3PO, everybody's out there. Lando's out there, probably. Akbar, everybody.
But see, the fact that Leia kept fighting.
Yeah.
Even knowing that her son is out training, Han is doing his thing, she's like, there's a threat, and I know I'm the only one. I'm the only one that's capable of stopping them. So... the fact that I just need help getting explained. If he's starting, why would he start a Jedi Order if he wasn't intending on helping protect the galaxy?
Well, that's just it. It's like we have to get our minds in the set of just what happened there, like I guess to Luke, his own failure of Ben. Convinces himself that the Jedi should end, that he shouldn't do, he should just not do a thing, and he just needs to go into hiding. It's like that.
But is that believable?
That's the question. That's the question. Like it doesn't seem like it should be.
To me, it's not.
Like Mark Hamill even talks about it. You know, it's been reported tons about how he disagreed with it. You know, he's even said where. Luke, you know, he thought, well, if that happened, then Luke would have went away for maybe like a year to regroup and then come back.
Yeah,
not
like what can I do to help this?
And there's got to be something that we're not seeing. I don't know. Benefit of the doubt. There's got to be something that we're not seeing or
and maybe that comes
into.
out in 9. Yeah, that completely explains that reasoning. I maybe you're right, but to me, he even says it. You know, he's like. Which I love the fact that he brings up the prequels. That the height of the Jedi, they let Sidious rise to power.
Yeah. And even said like, I think that's how you phrase it. A Jedi trained Vader.
A Jedi trained Vader.
So he almost like based off what happened with Ben, reminded him the fact of all the Jedi's failures, and that convinced him to do nothing.
Yes,
because there's no point.
But the logic just doesn't make sense because there's always failure in everything.
Yeah.
Nothing is certain. Nothing, but you just have to adapt and do what you can to do what you can. I mean, even like Mace, Mace at his dying breath was like, we have to strike down evil. I mean, he's staring evil in his face and he's like, we can't let this go on. I have to kill this guy. You know, so it's like he would not have not let that go any longer. Is what I'm saying. You know, like the Jedi, that's their whole purpose, is to protect and to root out the dark side. Sith, whatever. It doesn't have to be Sith. It's dark side. And that's a whole question of the balance thing. We've always had a problem with. I've always had issues about what is balance.
Right.
Like who. There's no real definition of what is balance.
Right.
You know, there has to be a dark, has to be a light. You know,
Powerful dark, powerful light.
And this comes into a lot of questions in this movie about the Force itself. You know, because he kept. You know, there's people saying out there, well, they've changed that the Force is not for the Jedi, and the Force has never been.
Everybody's always been connected to the Force.
Well, the Force is just there.
Yeah.
The Force is an essence. It's an energy field. It's whatever you call it. But it's always been there long before Jedis existed, long before Sith existed, long before the government existed, whatever. The Force is there. It's always been there. Now, you have to be sensitive to be able to commune with it, to use it.
Yeah.
To now, whether or not how you use it is considered light or dark.
Right.
But, you know, but Maz uses the Force, and she's just neutral. You know, she just uses it. So, you know, Jedi, Sith, they're just religions. They're not, you know, they're not ways of life or whatever, right? So I have a lot of people. I have a lot of people. I can argue with a lot of people about how they're changing the way the Force is with the. You know, I'm like,
well,
no,
it's like people think that they've used it in new ways. You know, just the fact that they're introducing new powers doesn't change. Anything. That's.
But you look at a movie like Rogue One. No one in there is a Jedi or a Sith, but they mention the Force in there all the whole time.
I mean, Chiru. It's like no one can wrap their head around like, well, why isn't Chiru should be a Jedi, right? Like no. He can still. He still talks to the Force. He's sensitive to it, to the fact where it helps him a little bit.
Yes.
You know, but he's not a Jedi. He's not. He doesn't train in the arts. I mean, he's not. On that level of I don't know. It is weird. Like even reading Catalyst, like Lyra, is kind of Force sensitive.
Exactly.
Bit, you know? So,
so it's. I mean, I've always attuned it to. The Force is basically faith. You know, it's that belief in something higher, and some people can actually tap into it and use it as power, and some people can't. So anyway, the Luke thing. You know, after all that, in the end, I didn't agree with him when he receives that lightsaber.
Yeah.
I just felt like the Luke Skywalker I've come to see established in the films, in the books, leading up to this movie. I feel like he would have had a lot of questions. Right away. He had them later. But who are you and how did you get this? You know what I mean? Like that's...
Yeah.
I thought we were going to have a long conversation right there on that island.
Yeah.
Like right then. And that did not happen.
It's just... Yeah, it's a lot to be undone by one little act. And that's the thing too. It's... Again, you got to try to put yourself in Luke's shoes, and it might not even be rational thoughts. Because like when someone experiences a tragedy like that, you know, they sometimes irrationally make conclusions, which causes them to spiral even further down into a bad path. And I think that's probably just the case with Luke. Is this one, as he calls it, hubris, and one slip that he experienced where he wanted to kill Kylo, regretted it immediately, a lapse, whatever he called it. You know, caused all the chaos of Kylo completing his turn and killing everybody and turning to the dark side completely. Then Luke took that, continuing down his spiral path of like, well, this is just... He's making the connections of all the past Jedi failures, and then he just irrationally, you could say, comes to the conclusion like, well, then the answer is there should be no Jedi. And like he's... blind to the fact that the dark side will then be running rampant across the galaxy. Like he's just blind to that. You know, that's just it's like
I
trying
don't
to
buy it.
I know, and it's hard. It is hard. I think it's going to be hard. It's hard for a lot of people, but it's like trying to rationalize that to anybody. Try to compare that to something of our real world of someone with like an addiction or something like that. I don't know, or like someone that is very stubborn in that regard, where it's like you can't rationalize with them. I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard thing to swallow. It's the whole movie. It's like the model theme of the whole movie. It's like it's a hard movie to swallow.
Yeah, because I think in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's this is how Luke started. Mm-hmm. I can't kill my own father,
right?
And I sense good in him, so I'm going to save him.
Yeah,
I'm going to sacrifice myself to save my father. Is what his plan was. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's in the same boat. Like, I sense he's evil, mm-hmm. but he's got to sense good in him because, I mean, even Leia did.
Yeah.
And if he did this, like Hamill said, like I would feel like Luke would say, you know what? I'm going to go save my nephew. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go take down the darkness again. I mean, mm-hmm. that's Luke.
Yeah.
And I don't know that if anything would have broken him, it would have been the Emperor electrocuting him. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how you get when he's worse situation than that.
Yeah, when it's involving your own father.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So
unless it's your own child, that's the only other thing.
Exactly. And this is his nephew. I mean, mm-hmm. it should be even more sensitive. Mm-hmm. My sister's only son. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like I get the whole regret thing. I get that he could have woken up out of that, all that wood on top of him and mm-hmm. looked at the destruction and been like, "Wow, I've just completely failed."
All because of him, technically.
Yeah. Well, not really. He knows the reason behind it. It's Snoke. Yeah. He knows the reason.
But it is almost like you rationalize the reason. It's almost like his that one little moment where Ben caught him standing over him with a lightsaber. Like that lapse of judgment in Luke of wanting to kill him caused Kylo to go over the edge and to do all the destruction. I mean, was he planning on that eventually? I don't know. Maybe Kylo was holding on for one little thing and hoping Luke. Then Kylo saw that Luke tried to kill him. It's like, oh, that's it. So I can see Luke seeing all that destruction and thinking like, well, this is my fault. This is all because of me. Like, yeah, Snoke was pulling him, but I'm the one that pushed him completely over the edge.
Yeah. It's hard for me.
It is hard. It's hard.
So that's Luke, then Rey. I feel like Rey was not fully trained or acceptance of what she was trying to, because she's got a lot of questions, obviously, mm-hmm. who her parents are. She's got a lot of questions of what's this feeling, what the Force is, she has no idea. This girl has no background about Force or anything. In the sense you can think, I guess the Force Awakens is almost referring to Rey mm-hmm. in a sense. So I don't know if we fully are you fully happy with how her story ended up? With what happened with Luke?
Yeah, it's about how I thought. And I keep thinking because our buddy Cody brings a good point to saying that Rey was kind of a passive protagonist. She didn't really. I argue with him on some of those levels because what is he calling passive? Because of Rey, the Resistance kind of survived in the very end. Like she helped pull all the TIE fighters away from them at the very end. She's the one who pulled all the rocks away, saving them from, the First Order, infiltrating. So, she did contribute to the story a lot. She was one who,
because of her going to Snoke's ship, he died.
Yeah, and going to the island and kind of triggering Luke back into what's happening in the real world. Eventually allowed Luke to come. Mm-hmm. Do this little force projection thing, but so she is an important part of the story, but her arc, in a sense, I'm trying to think of what did she learn and what it's almost like her. I don't know, because she was already pretty gung ho about the Jedi and bringing back the Jedi, and starting the Order again. It's almost like this movie gave her more tools to do that. She took the Jedi texts. She got a little bit closer to the Force with that one little lesson that she had with the meditation. Like that allowed her to reach out even more so in the Force and become even more connected to the Force, even though she was already doing pretty good with her natural abilities in the Force. So her story isn't as rounded as I think like Kylo's or like those other characters in the movie. She's a little bit more flat, but the whole reveal of her parents that doesn't bother me. I think there's still room in 9 to expand on that a little more. I think she still could be a chosen one because I think there's more to the dark side cave. I like to think there's more to what she saw in the dark side cave than what she said. She saw herself, much like how Luke saw himself in the dark side cave, and we saw 2 shadow figures become one, which I feel like that has to mean something else. Like she has one parent, I don't know, or she has no parents, like because she saw herself. Yeah. So
that's true.
I feel like there's more to that we could learn in 9, because that's the biggest thing that I have is that there doesn't seem to be any more mystery with Rey. It seems like all the questions have been answered. To a point, maybe that's a good thing, because in JJ in 9 has a whole lot of freedom to reintroduce some mystery, as he always does. So this couldn't very well not be the end of the story of Rey, because it does very well seem like, well, she's pretty set in her ways, and there's not much more where she could grow. I don't know. But, her story seems kind of small. But I mean, she's great. Daisy Ridley is fantastic. So she nailed it. I think Rey's still an incredible part of this movie. But honestly, I don't know. She's technically the main character of the story. Mm-hmm.
I actually think definitely my favorite. I would say if I had favorite parts of the film, it was actually the scenes that connected her and
Kylo.
My
gosh, those are fantastic. Yeah, those were great.
Besides the nostalgic ones, which I'll talk about later, but those were very good forward driving storylines. Mm-hmm. It connected our hero and our villain in ways that we've never seen before. We've seen Luke talking to Vader through telepathy kind of thing, but nothing like this where they actually see each other. Mm-hmm. And Rey. Yes, we find out her background, but I think we've said this in our predictions. It's like I felt like we were going to get told, but is it real?
Yeah.
Because just like Vader saying, "No, I am your father," it's like, do you really know that? You didn't know that at the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm with you. I think this time they could actually change it. Mm-hmm. I feel like in 9 they could actually change it. Now, if they don't change it, I don't think that's relevant, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I don't think she has to have, Force sensitive parents. I don't think we have to know who they are because, which again, I'll talk more in depth about this in a little bit, but this is a Skywalker movie. And, I think we've kind of established in this movie, this trilogy is to me about Kylo Ren. Mm-hmm.
A Skywalker.
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all that this is actually Rey's background, where she has no relevant parents, and she's a character in this story that is trying to just find her way, similar to, not similar, but I mean, like like you said, in the prequels you had Padme and you had Obi-Wan. I mean, they're not Skywalkers. Yeah. In the original trilogy, you had Han and you had Lando and you had people showing up that they're not Skywalker. But that story is about Luke.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, it's like the original, the prequels, Anakin. This one, the original, it's Luke.
Yeah.
And I feel like this now, especially after what happened at the end, it's like, this trilogy felt like it's actually supposed to be Leia's. Leia losing, establishing in The Force Awakens, losing her husband, losing her son, and this one really surviving and learning, reconnecting with her brother for a brief time, and we were told that she had a bigger part in 9. Mm-hmm. So it's like it sucks.
Yeah,
because now it has to. I think now it does fall on being a Ben Solo or Skywalker story. So anyway, Ray. You know, I don't know. I can't wait to get Cody on this to explain more about that because that it's actually a good theory and a good idea about her being a passive. What was it?
Protagonist.
Passive protagonist. But I think. I just think personally I was a little more disappointed with, we got that shot in the trailer of her, the distant shot of her training. It looked like she was training.
Yeah.
I mean, now we know that wasn't actually her training. She was just doing stuff.
Swinging around.
So I wanted to see Luke take on a student like that, and he ended up not doing it. So
I want to interject on another point real quick because some people will talk about how the whole force projection thing, whether it's Kylo and Rey's connection or Luke doing his thing at the end, that technically has happened before this. That happened, and I don't know if people aren't talking about this, but like Star Wars Rebels, Yoda did that to talk to Ahsoka. Is that right? Dr. Ahsoka? Or you talked to Ezra. He projected himself.
That's right.
And he was still alive. This is Rebel era. He was still alive, and he projected himself across the galaxy to talk to Ezra. So
yes, sitting on a log.
Yeah. So
you're right.
It's happened.
It does happen.
But I mean, that's kind of my argument because people will say, "Oh, this never happened before in Star Wars. This is a brand new rule that I can't get behind." It's like, well, that and the whole fact of like Yoda doing the Force lightning thing on the tree, it's not when we haven't seen a Force Ghost do that, but Obi-Wan says, "I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." This is part of it. So why does that not surprise you when that's the context we have? And so, sorry, there's little things like that. It's like, just think about it.
Well, there's so much. The only thing I have to say about it is there's so much we don't know about it.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. When something's new, it doesn't mean it's new.
Yeah, and
still, you haven't seen it before.
Like, why does that break your suspension of disbelief? It's like, that happens in the Force. That happens in the Force. I don't believe it. It's like, it's the Force.
It's the Force.
Anything could happen. Who knows? Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
totally. Okay, so look.
Also, Super Leia when she floats through space. We've seen Jedi in space before, so that's not a big deal. Plo Koon in Clone Wars, Kanan did it in Rebels. They were in space for a brief time.
That's right.
Jedi can do that.
Jedi can do that. That's right. Jedi can do that.
Go on.
And people got to know already that physics is not necessarily thrown by the book in this galaxy as it is in ours. So
Vader stood on a platform with space below him in Rogue One. He should have been sucked out.
They didn't get sucked out. Yeah. Correct.
Move on.
Move on. Okay. Well, we're getting a little long here, so I want to kind of just get to because what we're going to do is next week we'll probably get together, and I want to do kind of next week's our last week of December, so last week of 2017. Mm-hmm. I want to do a kind of a big 2017 recap of all the stuff we got over this year, which is a lot of incredible in Star Wars. So we'll do that next week, but in January, because I'm sure this, just like everybody else is still, we're still going to talk about this movie. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start bringing on a lot more guests, guys that we hang with. I want to reach out to some other shows and get some people on here, and we're just going to keep talking about The Last Jedi. So I had a lot more on my plate, but we can do this as we go. So let's just get into finishing up just our overall feeling of the film. So basically, we can just go back and forth a little bit here and there, but I'll just start off by saying I'm completely still on the fence of this movie. There's, again, a lot of things I like about the film, and there's a lot of things that I have a problem getting over. And again, one of the big thing is Luke's character. Now, I will say that you want to talk about my favorite moments real fast. Look, Yoda's my favorite character. I'm not shy about saying that ever. But I understand why they used a puppet. And I understand Ryan's explanation of why they used a puppet, which is that's the last time Luke saw him in that state. But that doesn't mean you have to use a puppet, in my opinion.
Right.
I would have been completely fine with the way he looked as a CG character, and I don't feel like he looked like the same puppet.
Yeah, I mean, I've read articles where they went to painstaking detail to recreate the puppet. There are still aspects of it that didn't seem right.
No.
I don't know if it was the color or what it was.
The shape of his face was not the exact. Not the
seemed
same.
a little off sometimes.
Like it did not look like that Yoda.
You're right.
At all.
It's a little different.
So now, if they would have got the actual one out of the closet and or out of the storage unit, whatever they had from Return of the Jedi, if that even still exists.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that, but they made just it felt like the Phantom Menace the first time I saw Phantom Menace. Like, what is that? That's not Yoda. Anyway, but the scene, love the scene.
Yeah.
Very, very moving, and I loved seeing Luke talking to Yoda. You know, I mean that does. And then the other one was obviously Luke and Leia, because for 2 movies now, the just to see, we got Han and Leia together in The Force Awakens, but it didn't feel like it was a reunion in a sense. They were almost like couldn't believe they were standing next to each other again, right? But in this, it was like, this was the Skywalker twins, and you knew this is Carrie Fisher's last movie. And I wanted more of them together. I wanted them fighting together. I wanted them planning together. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, based on what's happened so far in The Force Awakens and what happens so far in this movie, like, I tell you what movie's rising higher in my list is Return of the Jedi, because seeing them together and working together on Endor and like that just brings so much happiness to me.
I understand the writers and everything. You think like the story has to move in a certain way that logically makes sense. Like you can't just fan service everything. I understand that, but you would think that some of the backlash from Force Awakens, where it's like we didn't get the original characters together again, and that's what we want, and that's what we love. And that's what makes the great stories is these great characters. You think they would have done that in Last Jedi with at least Luke and Leia a little bit, but more like you just said, but they didn't, and he wasn't even there really.
He wasn't even there.
So it's not the same, and it didn't click as well. And I think for a lot of people, this is just not started. This trilogy is not starting well whatsoever. I mean, we're over, of 3 movies, we're over halfway through it. So it's like some people, it's like this is a failed trilogy because of that, which is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate,
but yeah.
So now I didn't know. You tell me real fast. Like I didn't really know the dice.
I had always read about the dice. I think you can see them. You've always seen them in the Falcon a little bit, like
even in the original trilogy.
I think the original trilogy you'd see like hanging up there sometimes.
Really? I did not ever notice that.
I just remember reading about it, years ago, that it's the dice that he used to win the Millennium Falcon. That's what I think old EU
but
said.
It's a card game, right?
I think there's dice involved. I think old EU that's what it was. That's what it established. It's never been established in canon in movies.
So I guarantee we see that in Solo.
Probably. Yeah.
That's kind of why I think it's almost brought up in this, because
Yeah.
I knew I put it together when he's using him. I'm like, that's got to be. Well, he found him in the Falcon and he grabbed him in the Falcon. I'm thinking, God, I guess those are Hans, and maybe we're gonna get that story in Solo.
Probably.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Then obviously to be honest, so yes, I wanted more Luke and Leia. Whatever, we didn't get it. That's fine, but I got that part. But the scene with R2, that
was good.
Brought me to tears.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Because that was the beginning. Think about it. 40 years ago, that was the beginning of the entire Star Wars saga.
Yeah,
was a farm boy on Tatooine finds a droid that has a message. And how Ryan decided to work that in was brilliant because we saw it. And I mean, to be honest, when that happened, I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Luke's back.
Yeah, I know.
He is going and he's going to fight.
And it
he's
seemed like that's how it was, right?
I know, right? Like that. Why didn't that trigger him?
I know.
That would have been it because that's what did it in the first time. Like, you know what? My sister is out there and she needs me. And I need
cut the crap.
Just cut the crap. Yeah. I need to
Shake
get
it
her
off,
son
man.
back for her.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and then when it didn't happen, I'm like, what is going on?
Pull your X-Wing out of the water.
Yeah. Or no, you don't have to do that. The
Yeah.
Falcon's right there.
That's true. Yeah, that's
Get
true.
in the Falcon and go.
Yeah.
Because it didn't happen when he said, where's Han? It didn't happen then. You find out his son killed his father. I mean, you find that out.
No,
Nothing.
I'm still going to sit this one out and let it play out.
Anyway, so those are my favorite moments. And then I did not expect, I wanted to talk more about it. We'll do it later, but I did not expect what happened with Snoke. Unfortunately, we did not get, in this movie, we didn't get a lightsaber battle at the end, really. We got someone just faking out.
Well, they didn't hit any lightsabers at all either.
No.
They didn't even hit. He just dodged it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, there was no clashings. There was nothing. It was just dodging.
He should have at least.
So we got the lightsaber
Flashed.
battle, which was the Rey and Kylo against the Pantorian guards,
Yes.
which was pretty incredible.
That's, oh my gosh. I cannot.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Just this for opening shot where Rey caught the saber, the slow motion of them standing up next to each other.
Yes.
Back to back. Brilliant. It was a beautiful.
Now, what did you think was going to, did you think at all one or the other, did you think at all they were going to be in the same team for after that?
Oh, like Rey making a decision or Kylo making a decision.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought Rey was gonna join him mainly because of the line where Kylo said, like, you're nothing, but not to me. When he said that, I thought, well, that's it. That would have convinced me. Like, I'm like, okay, you're important to me. I'm important to you. So I'll, because she saw past it and she realized obviously she has a family now with the Resistance. So, which is fine. It worked. It worked out great. I think, they missed a lot of interesting things where making Rey somewhat of a villain, but I understand why it didn't happen because there is a big theme of hope in this one, spark and hope and all that, and heroes. So I understand why Rey made the right decision there. But yeah, I was expecting her to say yes.
Yeah, as soon as he killed Snoke, I actually had the thought that he's doing what we haven't seen in Star Wars, which is a apprentice killing a master to take over.
Right.
And I felt like that's what he did. I right when that happened, I was like, he's taking over.
Yeah.
Now, and I had no sense that she was going to turn. I thought they're going to fight it out and then they're going to go their separate ways, or they're going to fight each other. I thought there would actually be some fighting of each other for a little while. So, but the scene was awesome, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, so basically my overall feeling is that I liked it. I didn't love it. And it's not in right now, it's not in my top 5 films, favorite Star Wars films. I walked out of Force Awakens, even Rogue One, feeling a lot better about the storyline and the people and the characters and the direction than I did with this. I'm not saying that Ryan. Here's the thing: I don't think Ryan is a bad director. I think it's very hard to get thrown a middle trilogy, the middle movie of a trilogy. I think it is. I think it's very hard. And I do believe, and I think there's some articles coming out now that's kind of backing this up, but I do believe that I think the storyline of Rey and Kylo Ren, Luke, Leia. I honestly think that these storylines have already been set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they knew in episode 9 where this is all going to end up. And so I think these guys like JJ and Ryan are just really filling in the storylines of how to get there. Mm-hmm. So this is how he got there. I don't think to be honest, and I could be 100% wrong in this. I just don't think. I think it was laid out like this is how Luke is going to end up. Mm-hmm. This is how Rey ends up. How do you want to get there? Mm-hmm. And this is how he wants to get there. So I don't think he fully came up because, again, I can't believe that JJ got handed 9 and said, you know what? Do what you want. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to, because I think he knew in 7 where things were going to end up already. I really do. Because I just don't, because if you think about it, George wrote episode 4, he had the whole thing written out.
Absolutely.
And he even had the prequels written out. Mm-hmm. He knew the whole storyline. There's no way that they just wrote episode 7 not knowing anything that was, where any of this was going to go.
Yeah.
So the outline for the trilogy had to exist.
Probably in big terms, yeah, I would hope so.
Totally.
Because there are some aspects, Cody, we talk about this a lot, where it seems like The Last Jedi is a little disjointed from Force Awakens. We're in areas where, like, JJ set up some things that Rian Johnson didn't carry through. One thing, like the Knights of Ren. And Rian Johnson's like, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to do that. And he's going to talk about something else. Or, like, all these other big questions, big mystery boxes, and Rian Johnson's like, I'm going to go a different direction. Some ways, I agree that it seems like it's a little disjointed, but I hope that there was a plot, obviously, because we saw Luke in 7 as the hermit. It's not like Rian Johnson came up with that concept. That was already established.
That was established.
So we can't blame Rian Johnson for how Luke turned out 100%.
Right.
Who came up with the idea of, was that JJ who came up with the Luke hermit, or was that story group? I don't know. So
obviously it was established that he, we saw him with R2 and the things burning down, so that storyline was already there.
Yeah.
So was it Ryan's decision to make Luke not join the fight? Mm-hmm. I don't think so, because I think you're right. I think the storyline, the timelines were Han dies in 7, Luke dies in 8, and maybe Leia dies in 9. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to unfortunately get, Leia dead probably before 9. But so anyway, so I think I don't know. I just think that I think you can't blame it all on. I just don't think you can blame, if you have problems with it, you can't blame it on Rian Johnson. I think,
right. No.
I think Ryan did a great job as far as directing, as far as giving us things that we didn't see before. Mm-hmm. Giving us different locations like Canto Bight, and even though even though that thing was pointless, but it still saw an aspect of this universe that we hadn't seen before.
Fun.
Yeah. Crate was incredible. Again, I read that in Leia, but to see it on screen was pretty cool. I liked Admiral Holdo. Mm-hmm. I like Laura Dern. I thought she did a great job, but she looked a little odd though. Her persona kind of didn't match Star Wars to me in a sense, especially an admiral on a ship like that. I don't know. So, but I can get by it. Whatever. We lost Admiral Akbar. I mean, people kind of skimmed over that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
No
more Akbar.
I need to watch the scene again and see him if he gets sucked out of the cockpit or something, or is he blown up from another ship? It's like
no,
a neighboring
he said he
ship,
was on
right?
the bridge. They said he was on the bridge.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So overall, look, we're going to talk about this a lot more, but overall, to me, it's not in the upper echelons of the Star Wars films for me. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed it, and to be honest, I really, in the end, besides those moments that I liked, to be honest, I do really what I'm seeing is I really see this being Kylo Ren's trilogy, and the story of Kylo Ren and the story of Ben Solo Skywalker. So, and I really like what Adam Driver is doing, and I love. I like his character, and I like the struggle that's happened in both movies, and I like where he's at now. I mean, he's become a good character, I think. And
absolutely.
So, so you talk, Case, and then we'll finish up with the ending.
No, I mean, the scenes at work are pretty consistently felt amongst most fans. I feel like, Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley are the best parts of this whole trilogy, and it's a shame I don't feel like we got as much out of Daisy Ridley as we could have. I think her range in Force Awakens was much more dynamic than her range in Last Jedi in some aspects, but she was still great in Last Jedi. I wanted to see more of her. Adam Driver was just brilliant, and all the good moments throughout the film, like you just said, I totally agree with. Some people have problems with Leia's, using the Force, how she did it, how she kind of flew through space. Some people say, I thought that was great. I'm glad we got that. That was kind of one of my personal check boxes I needed to see, is like Leia using the Force in a cool way and seeing her power. And I'm glad we got that now, because we would not have gotten it in 9, obviously. So yeah, those moments are great. I definitely got choked up, and Kylo almost killing Leia and not doing it. That was great little moment, and Luke and Leia and the hologram again. That was awesome. It's just this movie. I think I will come to love it with time. But that's the thing, is like the problems I had with it aren't the problems that you had with it. I think we had different problems with it. So I feel like I will be able to get over. And I think it's some of the comedy. I think because it just doesn't feel like a normal Star Wars movie to me as others. So I still think it's a good movie, and I think it might be top 7 or out of 9 now, or 9 movies.
9.
So 8 or 7 movie, 7 or 6. I don't know. I don't know where it ranks, but it's. I really do like it. I think it's really awesome. There are so many cool moments in it. That fight at the end with the Praetorian Guards it's going to be hard for me to say it's better than the Darth Maul fight, but it's pretty daggone close, because it was super awesome. I don't need the fancy flourishing and the flipping around, all that stuff. It was just an awesome brawl, very physical fight, and I think that's and the drama behind it was great, and it was just beautiful shot, and the set was incredible. So, gosh, it has so many things right about it, and so many things that could have been better about it. Like one little thing at the end, it's like, I will always wish Luke was actually there. He'll never be there, so that's just something I want to get over. But one thing I think that would have helped me, a little bit of a fan service thing, is using a green saber at the end and not a blue one. Just have him force project himself using a green one. I understand why maybe he used the blue one to confuse Kylo Ren and to kind of include the audiences that, hey, this might not be real because he's using a lightsaber that got broken. But just have him use a green lightsaber, because that's what everybody wanted to see. Luke with a green lightsaber doing a fight. Yeah. And make him hit lightsabers. I mean, he's obviously can solidify himself to touch and to, hold Leia's hand and touch her and all this kind of stuff. And so why can't he use it to, just add that little part. Have him actually hit with lightsabers. That would have been better. But no.
Yeah.
So there are things that won't sit right with me, but overall, it's going to be fine. I still like it a lot. It's still a good movie. It's just a different Star Wars movie. We're in a different direction now, at least with this movie.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I would have definitely preferred him being on Crate.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been, I think it would have been fine to have, again, not have necessarily repeat A New Hope where he sacrifices himself. But right. I mean, I can see that being out of it for so long, he could have gotten defeated by Kylo. Like truly defeated. Like if he was there to actually fight him to the death,
yeah,
I would have been okay with him being killed by, because we know Kylo Ren is very powerful. Like he's afraid of how powerful he is, right? So it would have made sense to me. Like, but like with all those walkers firing on him, like being able to force deflect all that would have been Luke, man.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't that was one of the big arguments. Remember when Force Awakens was getting written, right? That they kept writing Luke in the story, and they concluded that there's no way he would be too powerful.
Like he came in, and then all of a sudden the focus was on him, and like he became the shining light because of how awesome he is.
But which is fine, but you could have done that at the end here just to show that glimpse of that how powerful he was. But then, if Kylo was able to destroy him, that just adds more credibility to the power of Kylo Ren. So
you can still have him disappear and become one with the Force.
Absolutely. Totally. He could have still done that. So, I don't know. But I'm trying, I tried to separate myself from what I would have seen.
Yeah. That's
but to me, that makes sense in what Luke would have done, in my opinion.
Right.
Because I feel like not maybe the one, but if you think about it, the absolute main person I think they've gotten right is Leia. Like her character has been true to what she was established in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
She's a general and a fighter at heart. And, maybe like what Yoda said in a certain point of view, maybe he should have trained her. Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, we've got a ton more to talk about this movie. I'm sure we will continue to do that through the month of January because there's other things I want to get into, like Snoke. There's more I want to get into with other characters. Did they underutilize Chewie, the droids?
Oh, they're not important anymore.
I know.
C-3PO and R2-D2, they're not part of it anymore.
They're not.
It's crazy.
So, Rose, of course, we'll talk more about, and Finn and stuff like that. Phasma, Hux. There's a lot of character stuff that we can talk about deeper into. So, but we'll do that as we bring other guests on and get other opinions on here. And then again, I just think that with Force Awakens, with Rogue One, there was less to debate over. I feel like this movie has a lot more to talk about, and a lot more. It's just you can just see it. There's a lot more reaction to how people perceive this film. Now let's just finish up by going to the end where you have those kids.
Yeah.
How do you think that scene sets up 9? What's coming in 9?
Yeah, this is early speculation. But I've thought about it because I think that's cluing us into the fact that the Jedi will rise again in 9. And it's going to be, like, as it always is. So this isn't a new situation. It'll be people from across the galaxy with different backgrounds and different stories. Nobodies, basically. You're going to get different type of broom boys.
Yeah.
Different walks of life coming together in a new Jedi Order. But again, it's like that's what I feel like should happen, and that's what I believe needs to happen. But because of Last Jedi, it very well could not happen that way. I think it'll time jump in like 5 or so years from now, Episode 9, and in that time, Rey has been finding other Force users and trying to rebuild the Jedi Order because she has the texts, so that's what her mission's going to be.
Yep, and I agree with you. I think that. I think originally it was going to be maybe a shorter time period. I really think that we're going to jump. I think we're going to jump at least 10 years.
That would be crazy. Yeah.
I think it's
not
going to
unheard of, but it'd be crazy.
I think this conflict is going to last somehow because if it's true what I think we've got in this movie, that's all that exists.
It's like 10 people.
On
it's
the
like
Falcon.
That's
that could fit in the Falcon.
Yeah.
There's no way. Apparently what we know of, obviously Snoke's dead and the big ship is dead, but they've got other ships and they've got all this other stuff. I mean, you saw inside what all the stuff that they carry, all the TIE fighters, all the AT-ATs and all that, whatever. But I think it's going to take at least 10 years for them to reestablish and build an army of fighters, build, more ships, get more ships, not build, but get more ships. And then I think you're right. I think we're going to have. I think there's going to be an army of Jedi, not an army, but I mean
a small group. I think you got to have. I think JJ will bring back Knights of Ren, and they're all Force users.
Yes.
So you have Kylo, Knights of Ren versus Rey in her
and I
her
think
army.
that character, that kid, which his name is in an encyclopedia,
Tamir Blag or something like that. Yeah,
I think you're going to see his character in.
Cody's going to be very upset if that's true.
Why is that?
Cody hates Broom Boy. Hates him.
No, I think that's why they shot him. I think
I agree.
I think he is going to be a character in episode 9. So anyway, I think they've established by that shot. I mean, I think they could have ended it on that shot of the Falcon.
Absolutely.
But I think by doing that, you are sparking the galaxy to fight, and that's what we're going to see in 9 for sure. Yep. And last thing I'll say, in my opinion, just my opinion, 7 and 8, I like the feel of a J.J. Abrams Star Wars film.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yep.
I like J.J. Look, I look forward to what Ryan's going to do in a new trilogy for sure. But JJ is my type of film.
Well, it's going to be probably better. Like Ryan Johnson's trilogy will probably be better than Last Jedi because he's starting from new.
I agree.
Starting from scratch.
Totally, so. I agree. All right, thanks guys for listening. Hope you. Again, we want to hear from you. If you want, let us know your thoughts and comments about how we feel. Again, we got more to talk about. There's so much more to dissect in this film. The longest Star Wars film out there, so 2.5 hours. It's you saw a lot, you got a lot, and there's a lot to talk about. So, of course, Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah,
Happy Life Day.
That's right, Happy Life Day. Next week we'll be here to wish everybody Happy New Year as we recap 2017, and go to InsideTheForce.com for all your. Connections to us. He's Kryptonian1138 on Twitter. I am DCottingham21 on Twitter. Thanks for listening, everybody. For Casey Cooley.
Amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong. Yeah. Which sums up, I feel like, a lot of fans' opinions about what Last Jedi was about. And
that's true.
And I think what the story group feels like about, because it's just funny reading like Pablo's opinion about it all. So he's always fun to read.
He is. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Christmas and enjoy this as you're kicking back over the weekend. And we will be back next week. Talk to you guys soon. For Casey.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave. May the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to Inside the Force, a Star Wars podcast hosted by David Cottingham and Casey Cooley. For more shows, additional content, articles, and the latest Star Wars news, please visit InsideTheForce.com. Inside the Force. For the Force, then all of us.